Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at Galak-Z. It's a new roguelite, L-I-G-T, L-I-T-E. I don't know, I'm getting too old and these new terms confuse and scare me. But anyway, it's a roguelite game, roguelike maybe, L-I-K-E, who knows. But we're going to be taking a look at it today. It's a fun game. It's great because it's actually challenging and hard to master, and for some people that will make it fun, for other people that will make it a living nightmare, but altogether enjoyable. I find myself wanting to really play it more and more and more and as much as possible, and it just, yeah, it's got me hooked, especially since I'm a big fan of, you know, Robotech and Macross and all those other, you know, 80s and 90s animes that were amazing. But pretty much since it's a roguelite, what there is there's those things called crash coins. And pretty much you collect them through when you do the missions, and what you can do is either when you die or start a new mission, this guy turns the crash coins into salvage, in which you can then go through and purchase upgrades for your ship. Crash coins also allow you that if you have like five of them, I think, and you die, the crash coins, you can spend the crash coins to make a crash stash in the next level. And you have to go and find the crash stash, but if you do, I'm sorry, I'm saying again. You get to get all your stuff back for your ship. So if you have a perfectly, or you have a ship the way that you want it, and you can do whatever you want with it, and it's functioning perfectly. If you die, you can spend the crash coins, and the crash stash appears in the next level, and you go find it, and you get your ship back. The only problem is they don't give you a waypoint for it, so you actually have to cruise around and hope that you find it. And they go to great lengths in the narrative to say that, oh, you better find it before somebody else does. So I don't know if I can't find it because somebody else is picking it up, or I'm just not looking for it. But we'll go through and we'll play a little bit of the game now. It's a physics-driven game, so pretty much if you're going in one direction, you will continue to go in that direction until you change course with your boosters. So that's really the draw of this game, is being able to do, you know, those sick, you know, space maneuvers you see in some of these animes. And personally for me, it's like the new Battlestar Galactica, because you could be going forward, turn the ship around, keep going the same way you were going, and blast an enemy behind you. And that's really what's got me hooked at the moment, is the fact that it is an awesome physics-based game. The other thing that's really cool is it's kind of open world, to the point where all the levels are different. Well, they're not really different. I would like to say they're different, but pretty much the levels involve you flying around open space, going to one of these meteors or one of these planetoids that's been destroyed, and going through cave system, finding random upgrades and stuff. And speaking of random upgrades, I think I run into a blueprint at this point in time. I do. Now the cool thing about the blueprints is they actually help you out immensely, because if you die, which you will, it took me a couple hours just to get through the first season here. Oh, and did I mention you can change into a giant fighting robot, or mech, which I just did right there. That's pretty cool. That actually makes the game a lot easier. But back to the blueprints. When you get a blueprint, you need to collect either one blueprint or 3 blueprints, or, you know, 2 blueprints. But once you have that blueprint, that item will be available for you to use when you die and have to start the game again. Now the only issue with that is the blueprints are randomized whenever you talk to the merchant. So you may want the large shot, which makes your bullets huge and do more damage, but you have to get lucky to have the merchant have it. Plus you have to have the salvage to buy it. So that's the only bad downfall in there. But if you play through it, if you play through the game enough, hopefully at some point that large shot will come and you can buy it. And really the game pretty much follows that principle, is, at least from what I've seen. I'm only 2 seasons into it, but pretty much they drop you into open space. You find a planetoid, you explore it, you get laser upgrades, you get ship upgrades, you get salvage, you get blueprints, you fight different enemies. Right now there's bugs, there's the Imperials, and then there's the Reavers. I think they're called like space scavengers, but they're pretty much guys that have been driven insane because they've been in space for so long. But there's the planetoids that you have to explore. And every level that I played so far is set up like this. And sometimes it's giant, derelict ships. Other times it's these giant planetoids, or whatever you want to call them. But that's pretty much, you fly through open space like we are now, blasting space junk and meteors until you get to the planetoid that you can go and explore. And it's simple and it works, because you go into the level expecting the same design, well, not the same design, but the same concept of how you're going to play it. But they do change up enemy types, enemy tactics on you every time you enter a level. And because because it's randomly generated or systematically procured, or whatever those fancy new words are, so it does add gameplay value to it, that you're not going through the same 5 levels over and over again trying to get blueprints and upgrades for your ship. Also too, the levels are gorgeous. I mean, even though they all kind of look the same, they all have different setups, like those big pom-pom things. If you actually hit one, they'll slow your movement. Other ones will zap your shields. And there's a few other ones. There's these big spiky plants that will pop out and skewer you. But as you can see, also, this guy is randomly floating around levels to help you level up. However, I almost never have enough salvage to buy the stuff that I want. So I try to bank my salvage as much as possible. Now, this is one of the big bugs that you have to kill. Now, the coolest thing about the game is the Macross missiles, like you saw right there. If you're a fan of Macross, fan of Robotech, those missiles are going to make the game for you. When you go into mech mode, of course, though, you can't fire the missiles or the machine gun. The mech mode has its own skill set and moves. And that kind of brings it down for me, because I really wanted to use a machine gun when I'm in the mech. Now, the cool thing also, too, is different factions of the enemy will fight each other, as you just saw right there, that Imperial was fighting a bug. And that's very helpful in the later, especially in Season 2, I found, because if there's a big firefight going on, I can scoop-de-doo right past them and not have to worry about getting in the middle of this big melee. So, now this is the first level of the first season, so it is relatively simple. And I do have the tactics down for beating the bugs. And now that's the cool thing about this game as well, is the game doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't say, oh, this is this type of ship, use the boost and combine with the missiles to defeat it. Pretty much they let you figure out what are the good tactics for killing. See, I just hit that guy. Now I'm slowed. What the good tactics are. It lets you determine what the good tactics are for killing a certain type of enemy. As far as the drawbacks go, is I find myself fumbling with the controls, because the triggers control your boost and your brake and all that other stuff, and I find myself fumbling with that a lot of times. Also, too, I really need more fingers to play this game, because a lot of times I'm holding X to shoot and circle to lock on my missiles, and I need to juke with square, and that's just way too many things to try to hold at the same time. So a lot of times I use my tongue to press square to juke, and you really only want to do that if it's your controller or you're really intimate with that person who owns the controller. But that was pretty much just a quick look at Galak-Z. Highly recommended, especially if you're just looking for a simple game that you can, not a simple game, but a good game that you can sit down and spend 30 minutes playing and accomplish stuff in. And if you're a fan of 80s anime, 80s, 90s anime, definitely look into it. It's a heck of a lot of fun. I think it's like 19 bucks in the PlayStation Store. Really can't go wrong with that. Another thing is the voice acting is amazing, and the stories are fun, witty, and I get a chuckle out of a few things that they say, because they tend to mock other video games and some anime. So thank you for listening to me babble, and have fun.